favorite things about my job description is walking alongside these students. It's a special week for me. I get to go to graduation parties, celebrate. I got to baptize 3 of these students you saw on stage, 3 of the 7. Pretty incredible experience. It feels like just yesterday that I was walking across the stage from high school, rather, just by the skin of my teeth. And I remember talking to some of these students off the record this week through some text messages and on Facebook saying, I feel like I was just there, and if I could offer you any words of advice, and I gave it to them like the old man that I feel like I am now. So this is where you can participate as well. If you're on Twitter, if you're using Twitter, hashtag legacy students. Give your words of wisdom, words of advice. Could be humorous, could be funny, could be serious, could be sweet, but type out a quick message to them on Twitter and just hashtag it with legacy students. This is something not for me, not even for you. This is something for them just to kind of look at, to know that their church body, their friends here at Legacy have their back. So hashtag legacy students. Can everybody that's on Twitter do that for me later on this afternoon? Thank you. That's an overwhelming response right there. There it is. Legacy students, okay? You have no excuses now. If you're a parent or a family member of the graduating seniors, would you just stand as well so we could recognize you? I fully believe, and I said this in our breakfast this morning, that it's a team effort to graduate from high school. It takes the entire team, so I'm proud of the parents as well, and they've been great partners in ministry, and thank you for allowing me, just as I said this morning, to be a part of your families through the ministry that I have the privilege of leading. Cool. Last final recognition, piece of recognition this morning, one of my best friends in the world, James Worsham, your worship pastor, and Jen, if she's in here, got engaged yesterday. I want to give it up for them. Congratulations. It was fun to be a part of that. So if you guys see them, make sure and hug their neck on the way out. Slow clap for them. Awesome. I love it. One of the things that I don't really love as much about my job is telling people what I do. And let me explain. Many of you know that I've picked up the hobby, the sport of golf about a year ago, and I love it. I absolutely love it. And I've fallen in love with the game, and the golf bug has been hard. And though I'm not well off enough to go play every weekend, I try to go out there and hit around as often as possible. About a month and a half ago, I went on a Saturday by myself. I usually either go with my father-in-law or my friends, but they all have other lives and things going on and more important people in their family. So I went by myself, which was awesome. I thought that I was going to go out there and have an enjoying, relaxing round of golf by myself. This wasn't the case. I got out there, and as many of you guys know, if you're going by yourself, typically you're paired with a group of 2 or 3, typically 3 to make a full 4. So I jumped right in with this group who were a chiropractor, a law student, and a dental student. And then there was me. So we go through, and we're playing, and we're enjoying ourselves and introducing ourselves. And I haven't told them what I do. I just told them my name, and I'm recently married and enjoying life. And they're giving me like this ribcage shot, marriage advices, whatever. And so we get to about the 3rd or 4th hole, and the dental student's having a rough day, not playing very well. And everybody on the course knows it by the volume of his voice and the words he is saying. Which I wasn't judging him. I just kind of kept my head down and moved along. The last thing you want to do is tell somebody to chill out when you don't know them. So we get to the turn. We go grab a quick hot dog, a bite to eat. I offered to buy it for him, and he turns it down. And he says, "Well, what is it that you do anyway, man?" I said, I'm a pastor. I usually have one of 2 options. I can tell them I work with students, which oftentimes I do, or I can tell them I'm a pastor. And I went with pastor, and all the blood rushed me. It feels like I've seen a ghost. And he said, "I am so sorry." I said, it's not a big deal, man. Like these are words I've heard before. So it's really not important that you apologize. And I wish at this very moment that there was a manuscript for me to handle this, because I don't know what to do. I don't want to, you're forgiven, child. It's weird. Or I can just be like, hey, it's cool, man, don't worry about it. And then just totally pass off the fact that I don't have a problem with him using my Lord's name in vain. So it's really a bit of an awkward time. Well, in the book of Micah, the Israelites are going through a bit of a rough patch. They're deliberately turning their back on God. They're taking advantage of the widows, of the poor, and the orphans. But at the end of the day, they're kind of trying to figure out how to make things right with God, just so they can get a check mark, just so they can move on to the next day and feel okay about themselves. And Micah has a big problem with this. He's a prophet of the day, and he goes and then begins to speak to his friends and family members in chapter 6, verse 8. And he says this. He says, he has shown you, O man, what is good, and what does the Lord require of you? He doesn't say suggest, he says require. To act justly, to love mercy, to walk humbly with your God. To act justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God. He asked a couple of rhetorical questions before this. He was like, hey, is it enough for you to kill the fattened calf to make you blameless, or to give 1,000 goats or sheep? Or isn't even enough for you to give your firstborn child? And then he responds to those rhetorical questions with this. This is what the Lord has required of you. It's this simple, that you act justly, you love mercy, and you walk humbly. 3 simple things, but if your heart isn't in it, if you have no relationship and your heart is truly not in it, and you're just doing things to get the blameless check, it's not going to work out. This is what the Lord requires of you. So this is my challenge this morning, students, that we have our hearts in the game, that we don't do these things. We don't go to church. We don't pretend just to get the check mark. When I was a kid, my family entertained ourselves pretty easily. I was the youngest of 3, so I had to be the loudest in order to get attention. And to use the phrase "we entertained ourselves," you could take that quite literally. I'm going to show a picture of you guys that I really haven't shown many people. It's been put on Facebook a couple times. I've taken it down immediately. Only really close friends and family have seen this. So I'm going to get this out of the way, exposure therapy, and show by far the most embarrassing photo of my family. That is real. This is real life. This isn't like an April Fool's joke, a practical joke. That is my 6'5" father in a yellow wig and a tiny top hat with his little clown minions. My father used to clown. I don't really know how to explain this. He used to clown, and I guess wanted us to take up the trade. I think because he's so big and so intimidating, he learned to do something to soften his appearance. So he put makeup on. And it's really, really awkward for me. I hated this. As if you were to be able to zoom in, you could see on my face that I'm like unamused. I don't have the full makeup on. I really didn't want to be there, naturally. I was 10 years old and my family was dressed up like clowns in public. Just like taken in the mall, so people are walking by and they can see this happening. And I lost the 3 friends that I had immediately. But it's really, our walk is no different than it is this little 10-year-old boy who didn't want to be a clown. It's impossible for a clown to be a clown without his heart being in the game. Does that make sense? In order to be a clown, you have to be excited to be a clown and actively pursue being a clown. And there are 3 really excited clowns in this picture, and I was not one of them. And it was very obvious by the way that I looked, I carried myself, and the words that I said. It's really no different for us as believers. It's really obvious who is truly walking and who's not by the words they say, the way they carry themselves, and the way they act and react. The first part of Micah 6:8, we see that Micah tells us to act justly. What does it mean to act justly? It's really easy, students, to do the wrong thing, especially when mom and dad don't follow you to college. It's really easy to participate in the wrong thing. Sometimes doing the right thing is really just not participating. And you guys have heard this your entire lives, but it's about to get real whenever you're in college and there's nobody there to ground you whenever you come home. When I was a kid, my best friend was named Aaron, and his dad was the pastor of our church, and we ran together everywhere. And people began to refer to us as Aaron for Aaron and Moron for me. So they began to refer to us as the adventurers of Aaron and Moron. And oftentimes Aaron would come up with these ideas, and then I would do them, giving me the title Moron. For instance, one time we cut little slits in his dad's waders for whenever he got into the baptistry to baptize somebody, water soaked through, kind of sank his boots and ruined his pants in the middle of church service. There's another time where his older sister was having a sleepover. We were throwing some fruit at them as they walked in the door, and one of the girls got snappy with us, and so we poured some Coke on her Camaro. Stupid, right? It peeled the paint off, and we got in trouble. And I took the blame because it was always me that was doing it, and Aaron always escaped away. And I always said, man, I always get caught. And we talked about this in Flood last week for the students who were in there, that who you're around you eventually become. And Aaron would always sneak away, but I always got so mad that I was being caught. And then I began to think, man, maybe it's my own fault that I'm getting caught. So when Micah tells us to act justly, he's saying it's not always just about choosing right from wrong. Sometimes it's about speaking up for the oppressed, taking a stand where you know something is right or wrong. The Archbishop Desmond Tutu once said, if you're neutral in situations of injustice, you have chosen the side of the oppressor. If an elephant has his foot on the tail of a mouse and you say that you are neutral, the mouse will not appreciate your neutrality. Sometimes it's important to speak up. You're going to get a chance to do that, students. Act justly. Look for moments to where you can share justice. Second, he tells us to love mercy. What does love mercy mean? The Hebrew in the Old Testament in Micah contains the word chesed, which means it means to loyal love or loving kindness, the act of actually loving kindness. I think there's a distinct difference in having mercy on somebody and actually loving mercy. When you have mercy, it becomes this chore, this duty, this something you're supposed to do because you're going to do unto others, but you're eventually going to want them to have mercy on you, maybe in a relationship. But when you love mercy, you're looking for specific opportunities to be merciful and gracious. Simply acting out the gospel, looking for an opportunity to save somebody from what they deserve. When I was in high school, I had a principal who just had mercy on me. And by had mercy on me, I mean he let me graduate. There was an English teacher who's my former baseball coach. I'll speak to this story because many of you have heard it before. I went to grab the attendance strip because I was an office aide. There was Vaseline on there. I got Vaseline in my hands, embarrassed myself. So I came back the next day with a super soaker and a coconut bra and a Speedo and flippers and sprayed the whole class down as they were taking their final exams. Didn't know they were taking their final exams. So I ruined everybody's tests, and they had to come back and retake them. And I had to graduate, and the day after go to detention in order to graduate. They let me graduate. They had mercy on me. Fast forward 4 years into graduation in college, and I told this story from the stage last year where on Halloween weekend we went and rounded up all the pumpkins in the city of Belton, put them in the back of our trucks, and stacked them in front of the president's door on campus, the president's house. They eventually cleared away all the pumpkins, but to this day, pumpkins are still growing in the front lawn of this specific house because of all the pumpkin seeds that have fallen through, and now there are vines that they have to be poisoned, and then now I'm a living legend. But the difference between my high school principal and the president of my university who caught me was, remember when I told you he put the picture of me and my friends with the pumpkins in front of his house? He got a hold of the picture and stuck it in my diploma tube, so when I sat down and opened it up, there was no diploma. There was a picture. And I had to go and get my diploma from him, my degree. And he said, I love when students interact with me because it gives me a chance to forgive. And I thought to myself, man, this is a guy who gets it. He deals with dumb, rowdy college students his entire career. For 30 years he's there. And he looks for opportunities to forgive. Having mercy is completely different than loving mercy. When you love mercy, you're looking for an opportunity to be gracious to your neighbors, your suite mates, your dorm mates, your roommates, your professors, and your friends, and those you call not your friends on campus, students. Look for chances to love mercy, to love kindness. And those opportunities will find their way into your life, and you'll have an opportunity to be a difference maker, to be set apart, to look a little different. Act justly, love mercy, and finally, to walk humbly. I fully believe that walking humbly with God is really, it dictates the former 2 points, to act justly and to love mercy. When you walk humbly with Him, it kind of sets things into motion. It's really difficult to walk with the Lord daily and not act justly or love mercy. Does that make sense? When I was a kid, I was fortunate enough to live about a quarter of a mile away from my Little League baseball field and playground and soccer field, and this was amazing. I to this day, thank my dad for having bought that house because of all the great memories that I had at this park. When I was really little, I used to love to go up there and hit balls that my dad would pitch to me on the little t-ball field. I couldn't have been more than 5 years old, but I remember taking our dog with us and walking with my dog and my dad in my hand to the playground, to the t-ball field. But what if my dad wasn't there? What if Dad wasn't available to walk me down to the park, and it was just me and the dog, or it was just me? I wouldn't have looked both ways. I wouldn't have had to gone around construction. I would have just been lost, and oftentimes I would have just veered off and got distracted by something else. But I had the benefit of having my dad there to walk hand in hand with me, to take me and to say, stop, there's a car coming. Or let's go around this way, that dog doesn't look safe, or this construction area looks a little bit dangerous to walk through, so let's go this way. And I would blindly follow him. Where are we going, Dad? This isn't the way to go. And he'd always say, I know the way, son, just follow me. You see, in order to walk humbly with God, you not only have to be walking the same direction, you have to be walking the same pace, to the same destination. We don't know the destination. We can't tell the future. We know what we're passionate about. We know what we're excited about. But the reality of it is that it's difficult for us to say the same pace that God's laid before us. We want to run ahead or we want to fall behind. And then we want to expect God to pick us back up and take us to the destination. In order to get there, we have to walk the same pace. We have to take the same direction. Whenever Micah uses the word humbly, when he uses the word humility, I don't think he's just talking about not being boastful or egotistical. He's saying you have to know your role, and just as importantly, know his, students. Whenever you know his role in your life and your role in this world, it makes it a lot easier to walk the same pace to the same destination in the same direction. Maybe this video will help us out.
My shoes have taken me...
Do you want long answers or short answers?
Oh, my shoes have taken me on a big journey. Maybe not necessarily in miles around here, but I've had a long life. I'm 83.
My shoes have taken me on many trail runs all over California and in other countries. Yeah, I've run a lot in them. That's why they have holes in them. And you can see my socks.
The most exciting thing that my shoes have seen with me is when I went to Italy to play soccer, and it was just amazing and mind-blowing. And my cleats specifically have been with me my whole life, so that was really exciting.
I'm sure he likes my shoes because they're the ones that take him walking. He loves to go walking. He insists on walking around here 2-3 times a day, so it's better than walking around here alone.
Taking me on a lot of adventures with my friends, with my family, and just kind of exploring who I am as a person.
My shoes would say that traveling and meeting people is the spice of life. I like to see people happy, basically, and I like the human experience of people. You know, their daily lives, and how they communicate, how they celebrate, and how they just enjoy life in general.
If my shoes could speak, I feel like they'd probably yell at me for not doing things. They'd probably say things like, put me back with the other shoes, don't leave me in the front room, what's wrong with you? I don't know why I get this image of my shoes being like irritated with me.
Well, I just got these shoes, so the only main event that have taken place in these shoes is I got baptized. I wanted to devote myself to the Lord because I joined a Bible study. At the end, we had the choice, do you want to be rebaptized, or have you never been baptized before? And it's a really, really cool thing, a big step in my life, and I just knew the Lord was calling me to do that.
Where have my shoes taken me? Well, because I haven't traveled too far and because I don't look outwardly for questions and answers, I look more inside myself. It's the most incredible feeling knowing that there's still so much that you don't know.
If my shoes could speak, what would they say about me?
They would say, keep on trucking.
They say the journey's not over yet, and I got a lot more ground to cover.
Do what you love and don't settle for anything less.
Laugh and thank God for every day.
Students, your journey is about to take on a whole new chapter. You're about to embark on a whole nother level of life. And the awesome thing is that your shoes are going to take you these amazing places. Some of you are going a long way away. Some of you staying right here. But I want you to hear me. The distance that you travel, the distance that you walk, is not how you measure success. It's how you walk. Walk humbly, love mercy, and act justly. Walk humbly, love mercy, and act justly. You'll be a difference maker. People will talk about where your shoes took you, and that'll give you the platform to do those 3 things. I love you guys. I can't wait to see you back here. Let's pray. Father, the saying, it takes a village to raise a child, may or may not be true, but we know here at Legacy Church that these students are so important. They're near and dear to our hearts. We pray, as we prayed this morning in our time at breakfast, that you would just have favor on these students, that you would allow them to pursue the things that they're passionate about and align those things with your heart, with your mission and your calling on their life. We don't care if it's an engineer, a school teacher, an app maker, someone in the Peace Corps, a stay-at-home mom. We ask that you would create opportunities for them to achieve the goals in their life set out by you for them to achieve your calling in their life, which is to act justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with you. Let us walk humbly. Let us walk the same pace. Let us walk the same direction to the same destination of your calling and your fulfillment in our lives. We love you. It's in your Son's name I pray. Amen.